12 most powerful Terminator models that are deadly as hell. When the Terminator first made an appearance in 1984, no one really knew what they would eventually become over the years. Today, advancements and innovation have not just become essential features of technology, but a needful direction for life itself. Following up on that hard fact, it would not be a surprise if Skynet becomes a part and parcel of our lives after a few years. One aspect all Terminator movies have maintained across their releases is that with each new part, we get to see a new Terminator model that's much stronger and more dangerous than the previous ones. In this video, we're going to break down powers and abilities of all the relevant Terminator models from T1 to T1 million, so that we can properly gauge who is the strongest of them all.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Number 12, T1, Terminator 3. Of course, we're going to start with the first primeval Terminator machine that Skynet created, one that opened up the gates of robotic empowerment for the years to come. The T1 was seen in Rise of the Machines and Terminator Salvation as an entirely armor-plated and fully equipped tank that could move with its tank treads. Since this was one of the first creations, it naturally lacked its character and personality, being only a lethal source of destruction. One of the identifying features of the T1 was its wide range of attack being mounted on a 360-degree rotating platform. It was also equipped with optical sensors and a laser beam mechanism fitted inside its head portion. As a result, the T1 holds a great range with itself, but becomes an easy target of the enemy for that same versatility. Even though extremely durable, its body could be penetrated by a sustained force of artillery. Well, about our opinion now, we wouldn't like to bet much on the T1 at this point. Number 11, T600, Terminator Salvation. The T600 marked the shift from Skynet's use of non-humanoid hunter-killers to the humanoid hunter-killer units, which would eventually start to be called as Terminators. The model was created to serve as primary infiltrators before full-fledged combat. The T600 was laced with exoskeletons of titanium alloy and covered with a synthetic latex that gave the appearance of living tissue and made it look more like a human figure, although only in instances of poor visibility. This revolution in its buildup would later become even more enhanced to give us more human-like Terminator figures. However, the T600's ability were no less impressive. Extremely powerful to be able to lift objects even 5 times greater than its weight, and also durable so that it could punch right through concrete and metal without inflicting damage upon itself. It could again run for a constant speed of about 60 to 70 kilometers per hour. In many ways, the conception of this model propelled the revolution in the making. Number 10, T800. The Terminator. This one is another prototype model that does not deserve criticism for the time it was built in. We all have our starting points, and they are never as brilliant as our latest outputs. That said, the T800 was not just metal parts assembled with some glue. It could independently run internal system checks, estimate the distance of any object precisely concerning itself, lock targets with a head-up display, and even analyze human emotions, body language, and even surface and atmospheric temperatures. One of the significant developments was that its build was layered with a living tissue that could grow human skin, hair, blood, and bodily fluids like sweat. All this led to a crucial ability the T800 could use to effect its missions. It could become a part of everyday human circles. It was endowed with the ability to regenerate its tissue covering as long as every inch of its flesh was not destroyed. All that said, the T800 ultimately failed to show up as invincible, given that it was still in the years of inception. Number 9, the T850, Terminator 3. The T850. It appeared more developed and mature in terms of appearance and could fathom human lives and emotions more intensely. Like the T-800, this model also relied solely on its raw physical strength, abilities, and robotic durability to fight its enemies. At that point, Skynet wasn't advanced enough to lend this model the later properties of liquefying and melting itself. We remember the confrontation where the T-850 managed to meet the objective of destroying the T-X, but while at it, annihilated itself following the massive explosion in a surprising turn of events. However, this event also provided Skynet a glimpse of the future of its vulnerability. This realization fired open the vast potential they were going to tap on the future Terminator models. This weakness, we believe, became a superpower in itself. Number 8. Marcus Wright. Terminator Salvation. While Schwarzenegger's character managed to blend the machine and man almost perfectly, Marcus Wright became a stark contrast to that blend. Also, quite unlike the previous T-800 and T-850, who were primarily machines than human, Marcus never knew that he was a cyborg in reality, and nor did the audience or most of his companions. But after the surprising revelation that informed everyone of this reality, he amounted to an acceptable advance over his earlier models. The enhanced physical strength and abilities allow him to engage in a single-handed combat with a TRIP while protecting John Connor. Marcus could connect to the Skynet network all by himself and even controlled it to an extent. Of course, this connection comes with a novel sensation of pain, but for what it's worth, Marcus could manage to manipulate the network by shutting down its defense grid, following which he was easily able to access confidential databases and check out news and archives of documents. But that is not all. Skynet claimed Marcus could survive hundreds of years at a stretch. Number 7. Grace. Terminator Dark Fate. Is Grace a Terminator, per se? We cannot really say about that, but what is for certain is that she has several traits that fit well on a Terminator model. Grace's body has a cluster of surgical scars, remains of the cybernetic alterations carried out on her, and which she now refers to as enhancements. As a result of this synthesis, she has now developed enhanced skills with regard to movement and combat. She can single-handedly take on the tough Rev 9 Terminator while constantly blocking its deadly blows, which would otherwise slaughter a normal soldier. But the thing about Grace is her abilities come with severe limitations. She can implement her extreme combat skills only for short spurts of time, after which she is drained of all her energy. Once out of energy, she becomes extremely vulnerable to the opponent. To regain her strength, she needs to eat and drink properly along with taking doses of particular medicines like insulin. Yet, you cannot dismiss this well-trained soldier assassin for the advanced human that she is. And most importantly, for her invaluable skill of being able to identify certain other machines. Given a choice between Marcus and Grace, we might just prefer to go with her. Number 6. TX, Terminator 3. The TX Terminator model is one of the most advanced developments coming from Skynet. Explicitly designed for combats of extreme intensity, it comes fully equipped with a lethal range of weapons, built with an advanced endoskeleton that is guarded by a flexible ceramic titanium armor. The TX is entirely covered by mimetic polyalloy. Moreover, it is primarily driven by a plasma reactor. The TX can render all the previous Terminator models redundant. But why are we calling this one of the most advanced of creations? It was engineered as an anti-Terminator unit that could also control other machines via nanotechnological injector. In the case an onboard weapon falls prey to any damage, the TX can automatically repair or modify it. With a ruthless circular saw, an IAD Chemtech flamethrower, and a plasma cannon, this model was undoubtedly an influencer and a deadly opponent to face. We ought not to forget that this model also came with a range of Terminator emotions that allowed it to express frequently, even without any human beings present. Number 5. T-1000, Terminator 2. We cannot talk about Robert Patrick playing T-1000 without getting at least a little excited. Schwarzenegger rightfully deserves credit for making the Terminator series a success, but so does Patrick, and the T-1000 Terminator model. Supplied with almost all the skills you could instinctively think of as benefiting an advanced Terminator model, the T-1000 remains an unforgettable innovation. Whether fluid shape-shifting, instant auto-repair of any damage, body modification into lethal metal weapons, it was the ultimate robot assassin. Seemingly, all of this was not enough, so Skynet also gave it the ability to impersonate anyone he wanted to. Perhaps the most striking ability he had was the extension, molding, and solidifying his limbs into any sharp object of the desired shape. Additionally, it could also carry and conceal weapons within itself. With its body's utterly flexible nature, the T-1000 demonstrated some exceptional combating skills, which made it almost impossible to beat him in close-range fights. It could convert its limbs into a blade-like object and throw it at the opponent like a spear. With all this and more exceptional abilities, the T-1000's weak point could be extreme temperatures, but we don't mind forgetting this to bet on the T-1000. Number 4. Rev 9. Terminator Dark Fate. The Rev 9 is a more controlled and focused advancement on the earlier T-1000. It is built with an advanced carbon-based endoskeleton mechanism shielded by an outer layer made of mimetic polyalloy. But most importantly, and what marked the most significant upgrade over the previous Terminator models, the Rev 9 could distinctly separate into 2 autonomous units, with the ability to fake typical human behaviors like lying, sarcasm, and understanding emotions such as humor. This creation paved the way for the ultimate Terminator model. It was made with the notion of driving off enemies even before engaging in combat. The protective sheath of the Rev 9 could well transform into stabbing weapons all over the body and propel itself efficiently while in water. With all these destructive capabilities, the primary feature that distinguishes Rev 9 is its ability to split and hence multiply his powers doubly. The Rev 9, like most TX, can also gain control of any external devices like CCTV or access confidential data via an unfamiliar database. It is incredibly durable and dependable, very evident when it jumps off from a giant height without inflicting even a speck on its unique endoskeleton. By the way, we're now moving towards the top 3 most potent and advanced Terminator models. Buckle up. Number 3. Terminator 3000. Terminator GENISYS. The T-3000 is a highly advanced creation using humans infected through exposure to machine phase matter until their entire genetic code is rewritten. The human tissues would be rebuilt on a cellular level to maximize its combat utility. This Terminator model possesses significantly superior physical strength to the extent that it can single-handedly lift a T-800 and toss it a substantial distance with little effort. But it's not just strength. This model can also display tremendous movement and mobility speeds. It has a high endurance against any physical attacks, and arms including rifle bullets, bursts, and explosions. Even with high-caliber weapons, the T-3000 can only be stunned for some time, while it would soon recover and reassemble its injuries independently. Due to its foundations as a human species, this model can entirely grasp the range of human emotions and responses. Following on that, its fighting style is more human-like than robotic, as with the previous Terminator models. However, there is almost only one thing that could substantially hamper its efficacy, which is overcurrent. Repeated exposures to strong magnetic currents can destabilize it, but it remains the T-3000 comes close to staying unbeatable. Number 2. T-1000. T2 3D. Battle Across Time. The T-1000, more popularly called T-Meg, was an enormous, spider-like, non-humanoid hunter built entirely of mimetic polyalloy. It was supposed to defend Skynet's central hub from any unanticipated attacks. This model can almost surprisingly emerge from a substantial part of the core and take up its arachnid form. Simultaneously, each of its 8 legs can independently metamorphose into the stabbing and slashing weapon tools. As evidence from its structures and abilities, the T-Meg proves to be fatal and creepy at the same time. 2 T-Meg models were spotted in the movie, and a T-800 model was destroyed along with a portion of the central hub. This model may not be invincible, but it's definitely potent enough.
Are you? I'm Skynet.
Number 1. Skynet. T-5000. Alex. Terminator Genisys. The T-5000 is the physical embodiment of Skynet itself, and is held in yet another fantastic Terminator model. It was produced toward the end of the future war in an alternate timeline. To arrive at the original timeline and capture John Connor to be infected into a T-3000 unit, Skynet transferred its consciousness into a T-5000 unit. One of the most identifying traits of the T-5000 is that it could infect human beings with certain nanobots. These nanobots were able to rewrite the human DNA and eventually transform them into T-3000 cyborgs. Yet another objective that drove Skynet was to eliminate John Connor's TechCom squad. Alex manages to easily infiltrate the unit of TechCom, dodging the sensitive canine guards. He also manages to conveniently overpower Connor's elite, highly specialized soldier squad without suffering any significant damages to himself. That settles the range of power our most powerful Terminator model, the T-5000, has at its disposal.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.
The charm.